Alright, so what we're going to do now is I'm getting everything set up, making the jam. I got approximately 6 pounds of strawberries right here. I'm going to cut them up, and I have a scale over here that I use for measuring things out, of course. And so I have this here little bowl. I'm going to cut all these up. I have my Granny Smith apples over here. I'm going to wash them, get them all done and cut up also. I have my 4 tablespoons of lemon juice all set up, ready to go, so that way I don't have to worry about measuring it when I'm trying to put everything in here and trying to get this going and then this going at the same time and trying to get the jars taken care of. I'm gonna have the lids back here on a different eye, and it's gonna be a lot going on. So I'm just trying to get everything prepped, ready to go, so that way I'm not all over the place and I got everything under control. So, and then you have your over here. Don't mean to turn my back on you, but I gotta reach over here and grab this. That's the 6 cups of sugar right here. So so that's a lot of sugar in there, but it's gonna taste good. It's gonna taste good when we get done with this. So I'm gonna cut these up. Some of these still have the white. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to chop the top off of them and just kind of like cut the white off because it's not fully ripened. And I bought an extra pound. These were supposed to be 2 pounds a piece. I bought another pound. If I need it, then I'll put it in here. If I don't need it, then what I'll do is I will end up just eat it for snacks. So when I get everything all set up and all that, and I get ready to put everything, as I cut the strawberries, I'm going to be putting them in here. And then once I get them in here into this pot, I'm going to move it off the stove onto the countertop, so that way I can use a little bit of pressure on smashing them, so that way I do not mess up this glass flat top here. So when I get to that point and I start smashing, I'll bring you back, and then that way you can be able to see what everything looks like in here. Alright, so one thing I forgot to mention is you want to, when you do the strawberries, you want to crop top them. You can crop top them and then get the core out, but some people also just crop top them, and then all you're going to do is just cut them down a little bit, put them in your container. That way it helps the cooking process, and it also will help with smashing them up. So I'm going to finish this up. It's, hopefully it won't take me very long, but I'm going to finish this up, and then I'll show you what I got. Alright, now I've got the strawberries in here. I've got my jars in here. I'm about to put these to boil and then put the lid on, so that way it can keep these boiling. And then once it comes to a boil, I'll start 10 minutes, so that way I boil these for 10 minutes. Like I said, over here I'll bring you over. Over here I'm cutting up the Granny Smith apples with a paring knife. So there's one that I still have to do. Right here, that's the strawberries right there. That's those 3 that were supposed to be 2 pounds a piece, and that one pounder, and it's just over 6 pounds. It's like 6 pounds 4 ounces for these. Then you have here's my jars sitting down in here, and I'm estimating probably about 1 inch of water above the jars right now. So that's up. I'm gonna get this started boiling, crush these up, finish cutting this up, and then I will set you back up right over here. And then I'll come back and show you what it all looks like as I'm putting everything in. And then these will boil, this will go, and then we'll go from there and put this mixture into this mixture, and then put the jam into the jars, and then lock down the lid on the jars and let them in a water bath. For here where I'm at, according to the ball book, it's with the altitude, it's 5 minutes for doing it. If you're over 1,000, you want to, I mean, it's 10 minutes for me. All right, let me correct that. It's 10 minutes for me because I'm less than 1,000 feet in altitude. If you're above 1,000 feet in altitude, then you want to add 5 minutes, so it would be like 15 minutes if you're above 1,000 feet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to boil these for 10 minutes to get these sanitized. I'm going to take my lids, put them in a saucepan, and get them in some, get the water hot, put them in it so it sanitizes these. So these will be ready to go also. And then put it all together. So when I get to a point where I'm bringing it all together, I will bring you right back. All right, here's what it's looking like, smashing them down. I'm gonna keep smashing them down. I'm not happy with the way they're at yet, so I'm gonna keep smashing them down, and then bring you back, and we'll add everything, all the other ingredients into that we need to add into. So I mean, as you can see, it's just with the potato masher I have. It's you know, so it's just going down and taking time, really working them shoulders. So gonna smash, and when I get to the point to where I'm good to get it all set up and everything, then I will, when I get ready to add the other stuff in, I'll bring you back. And then over here, as you can see, I have finished with the Granny Smiths. Kind of cut them long ways, pretty small, and then I ended up cutting them in the other way, crossways. That way they're small and they can be able to cook down a little bit easier. So I'll bring you back whenever I get everything all set up. I got my lids back here simmering, so that way they're getting cleaned and everything. Got my jars starting to boil, and then so yeah, that is where I'm at. And then got everything else laid out over here, ready to go. All right, now I'm to the point where I like the consistency of this. This hasn't started boiling yet. I just put the lid on to maybe try to keep the heat in to help it get to a boil. So what I'm going to do now is add all the ingredients in here, and then bring this to a boil and keep stirring it. So I'll bring you over, and then that way you can be able to see adding all the ingredients and everything. Alright. Tilt you down so that way you can see down in there. Forgive me, all I have is this GoPro, so we'll get it all figured out. Sorry for the shakiness. Alright, so add in the apples. The 2 Granny Smith apples. All right. There's all of them. Now, next, I am going to add in the actually gonna grab, I gotta reach back here and grab my metal spoon. I'll use my plastic one whenever I go to scoop it out. So, and put it in the jars. So now I'll put the 6 cups of sugar. Sugar. Ooh, man. All right. Then I'm gonna put the 4 tablespoons of lemon juice. Bring that over in there. Just trying to get away. Then all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stir this up. So it all mixes together. Go ahead and start bringing this up to a boil. And when it comes to a boil, you want it to continue to boil. So you want a rolling boil, even if you, even as you stir, it's still going to continue to boil. It's not going to, you know, stop boiling. It's going to continue to boil. So I'm gonna let that kind of sit for a little bit, let it get to the boil, and then I will start stirring it again. So when I get back to that, I will bring you back to show what it looks like after it's like foamed up and it's starting to foam up and everything. So, all right, you can see it's to a rolling boil even as I stir it. It's not, and as you can tell, it came up the pot a little bit. So you want to make sure that you use a big enough pot when you make this recipe. And so what I'm doing is I'm just stirring it, keeping it stirred. I got my clock set for 20 minutes. And then we will see what goes on after that. I got my plate in the freezer getting cold. So once this is done and I remove it from the heat and I let it sit for 5 minutes, then I can take a little bit of it out, put it on the plate, let it cool, and slide my finger across it and figure out if it has the right consistency that I want of for the gelatin. If not, then what I have been told, or what I've seen on videos, is, you know, just cook it just a little bit longer and it will it'll gel up a little bit more. So I'm gonna sit here, I'm gonna stir this for about 20 minutes, and I'll be back with you once the 20 minutes is up. So, all right, it has been done. I'm gonna let it, there's a finished product. I'm gonna scoop off the top of it here in a second. Set the timer for 5 minutes, let it go for 5 minutes. Letting my jars do their thing right now. It's almost to a boil over here with my jars. So they're, let me bring you up just a little bit. They are, open it that way because it is pretty hot. They're to a slow boil. It's starting to get up the temperature. So I'm going to let that do its thing for probably about the next few minutes, and then I'll fill the jars and I'll bring you right back. All right, while it sits for the next 5 minutes, the jars over here on the other side sit for the next 5 minutes. I'm going to bring you over and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do next. I am going to scrape off the foam off of the top, because if you put that in your jar then you're gonna have the foam's gonna go to the top of the jar, and you don't want that. So you want to try to get out as much foam as you can out of here. So I'm gonna scrape off as much as I can. Just like that. Just skim the top. Scrape it off. I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to grab the plate out of the refrigerator, and I will show you how to check the consistency of your jelly to see if it is set the way you want it. I went like 25 minutes on this, and I did not need to go 25 minutes. I started smelling it, and so I took it off the heat right away, because it was done cooking. It was cooked down after about 20 minutes, 22 minutes. So yeah, just gonna continue to scrape off, get as much of this as I can out of here, and then we'll jar it up here in the next 5 minutes, and then it goes into the canner. And then when it goes into the canner, it will go in because they're actually boiling now, and I'm gonna let them go. I'm only gonna put it in the water bath for 10 minutes due to our altitude. So I might, 10 to 12 minutes due to our altitude. The ball book states to go 10 minutes because we're less than 1,000 feet. If we were more than 1,000 feet, then we would add an extra 5 minutes onto their recommendation. But since we are at like 18 feet above sea level in elevation, we are going to go 10 minutes, 11 minutes, and call it good. So I'll see you guys back here in a second when I go to get everything set up with testing the gelatin. All right, I've taken the plate out of the freezer, so I'm going to grab some of this out, put it on the plate, and let it cool. The consistency that you want from this whenever you go to put it down is when you drag your finger, once it cools off, you don't want, you want a straight line going through it. So we'll take a look at this, and if it all looks good, then we will start jarring up some jars. So we'll let it cool down a little bit. Looks like it's got a good consistency to it. So we'll take a look at it here in a second. All right, let's see. Now let's see how it's closing up. Man, that's good. It doesn't have the consistency that you want it. You don't want it to close back in on itself, so we'll probably have to put it back on for a few more minutes and let it go for a few more minutes. So, all right, I'll put it in a little bit longer, but as you can tell, and then I took this and I put it into the refrigerator to help it cool down. When it was still warm, it was going together, but as you can see, you know, as it's cooling down, it's not coming together as much as what it was. So as it sets up, it will be good. So I'm gonna set this to the side. Man, that's good. And we're gonna start filling up the jars a little bit, and then putting them in. So let me grab the tongs over here. I'm gonna grab 2 jars out of here. We'll start with 2 first. And so I'll show you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna come over here, dump the water out. So I'll get all the water out of it that I can. And I'm gonna set it down right there. Come in here and grab another one. Let's see here. When they're in here and they're tight like this, it's a little. There we go. I got it. So, and then set it down right here. Then I'm going to go ahead and work on filling these up. So, take my cylinder. You want a 1/4 inch head spacing whenever you go to fill these up. So, that is what we will. That's what we will shoot for. So. Don't have a ladle. The ladle I do have, I use for soup, and it is a big ladle, so I'm not going to, I don't want to use it because it could possibly put more in here than what I need. So, all right. So that's more about a 1/2 inch head spacing. We need a 1/4 inch head spacing. All right. Let's see what that did. All right, and then this is where you got your 1/4 inch head spacing set right here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stick it right here. And that jar can take a little bit more than what's in there. I'm actually gonna lift it up just a little bit because I don't want to overfill. I don't want to alright. So as you can see, it's down in there a little bit, but I'm gonna stick this down in here like this and try to get the bubbles out and use the debubbler. Just like that. And it looks like I need to get just a little bit out, so I'm gonna scoop a little bit of it out. There we go. Yep. That will do it. There's my 1/4 inch head spacing. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hit it with the debubbler again. Make sure I got all the bubbles out of it. And it looks like it. I'm actually going to leave that down in there because I need to get a I need to get some type of plate to put some of this stuff on. I don't have a whole bunch of work room over here. But, all right, so there's that. There's that. wipe my finger off. Then what we're gonna do, don't want to touch that, that jar's hot. All right, and then I'm gonna get a little bit of this vinegar. Clean the lid. Grab another paper towel. Oh, that jar's hot. All right, and then I'm gonna grab my magnet, grab a lid from over here. Put it down on there where it needs to go. Put my ring on there. There, just gonna start turning the jar and a little bit more. So that's finger tight there. So I'm gonna lay that one to the side and move this jar over. Fill it up. And just continue the process. And when I get to the next one and I get done, I'll bring you back and we'll I will show you what I got. So hang tight. All right, I'm all done. Got all 12 of them back in there. Had to be a little strategic with it, but I got all 12 back in there. Turn the heat back up and bringing it to a boil. Once it comes to a boil, then I'll probably go 12 minutes with it. It says 10 minutes, but for our altitude here, and so you're supposed to go 10 minutes according to the ball book for us, but I might go 11 just to be safe because I already boiled them one time to disinfect them. But if you look over here, every bit of it is gone. Every bit of it went into these 12 8-ounce jars. So we will see what happens. All right, now it's time to remove the remove them from the thing, from the canner here. So I'm pulling them straight out the best I can. Let's set it down right here. And hopefully here in a few minutes, we'll start hearing them pop. So just removing them a little at a time. One at a time, trying to get them out. I'm hoping that they seal. I really do hope that they seal. Yep, there's all 12. So we will see what happens. So hopefully they all set and everything. So we'll see. I gotta go get dinner, so we will see what's gonna go on. All right, so what we're looking at is I'm gonna do a quick review right quick. So we had this is the next day. We had 6 pounds of strawberries, 2 Granny Smith apples, 6 cups of sugar, and 4 tablespoons of lemon juice. So you want to wash and core the strawberries, mash them up, cut up your apples, and then add your apples to your strawberries. Add your sugar, and your lemon juice. Then you want to heat it, stirring up all your ingredients together. Then you want to bring to boil. You want to boil for 20 to 25 minutes until you get it should thicken up because the apple has the natural pectin in it. So it should thicken up a little bit. Then you want to take a thermometer and tilt the this is something I didn't do, but tilt the container that you have the mixture in, and you want to make sure the temperature is in between 217 to 220 degrees Fahrenheit. So that way, that's when the pectin will do what it's supposed to do coming out of the apples. Let me look at my notes here. I'm looking down because I'm looking at my notes. So then after you do that, you want to remove it from the stove. Once it is remove it from the heat source. Me, I have electric stove, so I have to remove it from the stove because the heat source, if you have an electric stove, it's still going to sit there and it's still going to be hot. So I removed it from the stove. put it on top of a towel or something so that way the heat doesn't, to protect the countertop. And then let it sit for 5 minutes with the lid on it. After the 5 minutes, I clean the top off, and then of it, I remove the foam. This whole time, I would have my jars in water boiling, and so that way they can be disinfected also. Then once all that was done, I checked the consistency. Before you fill your jars, you want to check your consistency of your jam. The way that you can do this is you're going to put a plate in the freezer before you even start your process, so it's cold. Take the plate out, put a scoop of the jam that you just made onto the plate, put it back into the freezer for about 2 minutes. Then, as you can see, and then pull it back out and then run your finger through it like you saw me do in the video. And then that will be able to determine your consistency. If it's still coming back together, put it back on the stove for another 3 minutes, test it, and then try it again. And then continue that process until it is to the right consistency. Then what you want to do is, then you're going to fill your jars and you're going to put them into the water bath canner. And you want at least a 1-inch space in between the top of the jars and the top of the water. Bring it to a boil. Where I'm at, I'm below 1,000 feet in elevation, so you're going to go with 10 minutes of boil once they are to a boil. And then once it's to a boil, start your timer for 10 minutes. Once the cook time's over, you're going to turn your heat off, remove it from the heat source because you want it to start cooling down with the contents inside your jars. Let them sit for 5 minutes. Then you're going to remove the jars from the container, and you want to make sure you lift them straight up and then put them down. If you tilt them over to the side to get the water off the top, it could cause the liquid from inside to interfere with the seal and it not seal properly. And then you want to let them sit for 24 hours and naturally cool. And while they are sitting, mine did seal after probably about 5 minutes. I went and got dinner, came back, and when I came back, they were all sealed. And then don't worry about the water that's on top. You can see me in the video. I take a rag and I just kind of lay it. I don't push down on it. I just lay the rag right on top. You don't really have to worry about the water. The water's not going to hurt anything of being on top of the jars. You don't have to get the water off. But I got these. I can't take credit for these directions or these recipes. If you go to, I got this information from American Test Kitchen. If you go to their YouTube page and Making Strawberry Jam, that is where I got some of the information from. The recipe that they have on there is half of the recipe that I did. The recipe that I did, I got from a YouTube channel called Homestead Heart. And she did it from start to finish, and then that video is the recipe that I did in my video. So those are the two that you can go and you can reference. So I can't take credit for the recipe. I'm just going off of what I got off of them, and I'm just making this so that way I can share this with friends. And I hope you guys have a fun time making the jam, and it's a good time for the family, and good, it's strawberry season right now. Go out, pick some strawberries, and make you some jam. Good luck and have fun.